to it attentively.
Yes, yes. I also hope that I do not disappoint. I haven't done a lot of these sessions, to be honest. Yeah.
You always need a first time for everything. So
Yes, that's
we're
true.
very lucky that we have you tonight.
No, it's my privilege, I would say. Yes.
Actually, I have a lot of background sound tonight because I have kids, so I'll just be muting myself again. Let's hope the
No
other
problem. No
faculties will be
problem.
joining soon.
Yeah, it must be pretty late also. I mean, I wish we could have done this a little bit late, earlier in the day so that, people with families would have time to spend during the day. But I hope that it's okay.
It's okay. It's actually an ideal time because over here also we don't eat dinner too early.
I
So
see.
around we have a free time around this time only. So it's actually very ideal. Don't worry
Okay,
about that.
okay.
So I'll be sharing the link with the students. So Shivangi, I'll let the students join our meeting, right?
Yeah, yeah, please do so.
Okay, Shivangi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
So there is a slight change of plans regarding this program, right? Uh,
No problem.
Regarding that, as per the flyer, I was supposed to be your interviewer for this program, right? But
Okay,
I have to act as a technical host for this program,
okay.
so I won't be interviewing this time. We have already had a 2 hour interaction, a one-on-one interaction. So one of my colleague, Dr. Sang Sangi, will be the host of the program, right?
No
And
problem,
I'll be at
sir.
the background doing all these technical things. So
Okay.
has Miss Sang Sangi joined? Miss Sang Sang, are you there?
Yes,
Yes.
good evening,
Okay,
Shivanji.
okay.
Yes, hello, Miss Sangi. How are you?
I'm doing good.
It's
Uh,
really nice to have you and to see so many students joining in.
We are really lucky to have you tonight. I hope it's appropriate to say good evening. What's the time now? Out there,
Um, so it's 4:30 almost. Sorry,
4:30. Okay.
I'm sorry, it's 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Uh, but, it's fine, really. I think in Aizawl is it must be almost late evening, so good evening is fine as well.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm audible, right?
Yes, clear.
Okay, great.
Audible. Mm.
Yes.
As sir have mentioned, we will be having a few list of questions, and then after that, we'll be opening the time from the audience, from the teachers or from the students. So if you're okay with that.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
whatever. I must say that I am not one of the most prolific speakers, but I'll definitely try my best to address questions and concerns that the panelists or the students may have. And I'm really glad to see so many young girls joining. I really hope to get to know a lot of their plans, ambitions, aspirations. And yeah, I hope that they don't stop at nothing. Yes.
Actually, she's a good speaker, Miss Sang Sang. Shivangi is a good speaker. I already get to know her. What I like about her is that it's easy to understand the language she used and the way she put forward her arguments. No, it's very easy to understand.
Yes, exactly, clear and loud.
That's really kind of you. It has given me a lot of confidence for today's session as well. Thank you so much. Also, can you share with me the recording of this session, or will it be there on YouTube?
Yes, of course. I'll be recording in YouTube while I do the live streaming. So after this
Okay.
program, I'll do some editing. Then I'll send you the recorded video, right, from YouTube. I'll send you the link after our program.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sarzar,
Mm.
is there any announcement to be announced during the talk for the students, for the participants?
Yes, for the students, they have to give their attendance in the chat box. For
Uh,
those for those Google Meet participants in the chat box in the app, and for those attending at the YouTube live streaming, they have to post their roll numbers, their name, and their class in the comment
when?
section.
When?
Anytime, kazumi sang sang idu hun hun aron ti tokro. Amase,
Oh.
it will be better at the towards the end because after they put their roll numbers, they usually left. Awang
Okay.
kan atop lama han ti lamo. Anta
Mm.
chak khop main example kan miss na nawi khan aron tia ka discussion khala kal sia zo na le chan na khachu wang chun antinan
Mm.
miss pui pui vote of thanks so don vela amo khan khong tamai lamo a fu zok mai thei
Mm.
khalai ta kan
A vote of thanks, oh, ka zo theng hil, this is a vote of thanks and omleo no, po
oh
chu ka
oh
lo la shela.
vote of thanks
Miss Pui
sound do na
Pui
mo
mo, oh,
chuan
Swan.
thil pakhat chu bo tunge mi sang sang i shrem mai em din antinan tu na hin screen a hi full screen a hetia vati lang tur hian mo
Mm.
hengtin nge ava eng lo da na hi nang ma highlight he full screen a antinan i trong ta khami nang ma ron tilang tur khan
Zoom a chia ka sha Jimmy
chu
ta
chu ni
chuan ka van
gmi
she
thi
mei lo va pin na kha.
miss papar te ho hen an shrim o chu lai tak chu ka boi de mo
Mm.
antinan hetin ka zoom ma kha chon hetia va click khan i kan va click ka kha screen kha phone in ron lang mai ta kha kha lang
Mm.
ve chi lo de wa
Oh. Ka she mei lo chuan mo sar za ina han mo. Ka laptop anwar lo me ya phone atangin ka lo lu ta enga mo ni cover ngai de un chuan
oh
mi lo
oh
sha
oh
sak mei o. Daria churi chia chia.
eng lo hi mo i
Mm.
somli le pathum che kan la ni ngak thretila chu
Mm.
Pachau sir, I wanted to ask, are all of these students from your history department, right?
me
No, no, the
the
students.
students all from across all streams they will be from sciences and this arts
Oh,
also
okay, okay, okay.
so
Okay,
it's there will be a diverse kind of variety of students here
okay, I see, I see. And so they are now doing their 11, 12?
no they are in the college
Oh, oh, I see, I see. The undergraduate
yes
students, right?
undergraduate
Okay. Okay.
so we will wait for a few minutes because
No
participants are
problem.
still joining
No
so
problem.
once the limit is full in this gmeet app we'll start right
Yeah. I was wondering if any of the students here would want to like introduce themselves or say something about their subjects or why they are
um,
studying.
Yeah,
Or if that's as I was thinking as we are waiting.
yeah. Let's hope so because, as I've said, they might be too timid to ask questions also. But let's hope questions will be
Oh,
raised from the students. So
yes, please.
if a student raises a question after you answer, you can ask them questions also.
Okay, okay, okay.
So because they are not used to these kinds of live interactions, no, and
Right,
speaking
right.
is a bit of a problem for most many of our students here. But I hope they'll come up. They'll come out and ask you questions.
So even if you don't ask, it's fine because I can share my email ID and they can always be in touch with
Yes,
me.
yes, exactly.
But I hope that at least one of them introduces themselves so that I can get to know them.
Nibilok te umis na yan.
Oh, ngor ka connection. Look, ah, I've lost my connection. That's why it's restarting. Inge, Miss Sang Sang.
Miss Nana we had a run, so don't
Oh,
full
oh,
screen.
start.
Oh,
Imo,
oh,
ila siya lang to full screen na da ka.
oh,
En lau kha a participant kha mi box a khan mo
oh,
en lau khan in I cursor kha iwa place khan kha pin ang ong kha
oh, oh,
iwa
oh.
pin ang zela kha a full screen in an a en lau kha ron highlight ang than ki chin mai mo
Okay.
one pahni ipin kha chuanin pahni kha alian in a ron lang ang mo
Ale, ale.
one
Tiang ka
kami
pinta tiro.
o pakhat
Eh.
chuan I en lau
Chuan,
kha
kaan
I
pin
an pin
khan.
le miang o chuan pahni iti lan du kha chuan
Oh, oh, oh.
tikanin tu na Shivangi ron highlight ta chuan
Oh, kan
at
ani hi ni ta tiro ti khana nia.
mm mm
Ti khian Miss Sang Sang in en khian eng lo wi lo ba thawai ong ve. An pin le
ipin
don khan mo Miss Nano.
mm
Khoi teng nge ka an pin le don ti khan.
ama tho khoi klik le to pang
Ami eng lo wa hian mo.
o kema chuan ani da ni ta mo
Oh.
ipin kha eng lo khan in I ipin to nan a tho khan in khatikan ba klik le ta la chuan angai ang khan atai angin a ron dang le ang
Ki awalang lo ve.
a screen a khan
Ka pin ta mo ti hian.
mm
Ka pina ka eng lo le ta ma se. Angai ang rang ina lo screen na nang mai la vum. Eng ro he ta hian ni. Oh, ka hu e. Ti
mm
hian Miss Sang Sang I ka pin pe la tro. Oh. I see. Ti kha jong ka thiam. Ni zat ang ai khan ron lu thi kan muang riu mai ma tinge mani zan min hi.
56 chun ni ve to tho mo
Oh. En tin nge kan lo tu
chun
le
ti
ni
po
ya.
kha apoi chang le min the
Shivangi, shall we start? 58 participants have joined so far. Are you ready on your side?
Yes, I can start. There is someone who has a hand up. Should we address that first?
Uh, I think they must have mistakenly raised their hands, or they might be sending a signal that they have joined the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Sang Sang,
Mm.
live stream hi tiang ka live stream to tho chuan ka record do na mo.
Mm.
Te nang ma ha ti khan.
Oi, preto em.
Okay. So I'll hand over the session to Miss Sang Sang now. Okay, Shivangi. Okay, all the best.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
I'll start recording in 3, 2, 1, start.
Okay. Respected principal, my esteemed colleague, our resource person for tonight, Ms. Shivanji Kaushik, and my dear students, a very good evening to you all. I am Dr. Kelal Mingsagi, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, and on behalf of the organizers, Organizing Committee, Career Guidance and Counseling Cell, Government Certificate College, I welcome you all to the international webinar on prospect of higher education and career opportunities abroad. Ms. Sivanji, we are delighted to have you here tonight in our midst. Thank you for sparing your valuable time with us in spite of your busy schedule and also for adjusting according to our convenience in spite of the huge time difference. As we all know, tonight's platform is Google Meet, in which unfortunately we could accommodate only 100 participants. But it has been recorded and it will be uploaded in Government Censorship College official YouTube channel for reaching larger audience. Before we proceed, I would like to make a quick announcement for the participants, for the students. If you have any questions you want to ask the resource person, Mrs. Shivanji, you can drop your questions again in the Q&A box, which is down below. She will address your questions depending on the convenience or at the end of the discussion. And you may write your roll number at the chat box just before the vote of thanks, just before the vote of thanks. And so now it's my pleasure to introduce tonight resource person, Ms. Shivanji Kaushik. She's currently pursuing her PhD, DPhil in International Development from the Oxford Department of International Development, University of Oxford, United Kingdom. She have completed her master degree and BA in Delhi University and Jawaharlal Nehru University, respectively. And in addition to that, she have completed her one-year diploma course in conflict transformation and peace building under Lady Sri Ram College for Women, Delhi University. And also she have presented various papers in different platforms across India and published various papers in different renowned journals. She has also done her research internship in different institutions, NGO, including Teach for India, which is an organization that ensures 100% literacy for children. And she has worked as a campus ambassador and designed their 100% primary literacy campaign for 1 month in 2013. If I continue to read her biodata, the list goes on and on. So I will end the introduction with that. So now we will proceed with the interaction. I have a few list of questions which have to be asked, and after that we'll open the time for the audience. So once again, good evening. Good evening, Miss. It might be a long story to studying abroad. Will you please let us know the process of studying abroad?
Okay, firstly, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I also thank everybody for attending and for coming here. And I thank Dr. Pachau and the faculty members for considering me for this session. I'm very privileged and honored. So before talking about studying abroad, I would like to say a bit about myself, and I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So I was born and brought up in Guwahati in Assam, and I went to study to Delhi because of the commonly held perception that there are no good educational institutions. There is a certain sound in the background.
Yes, audio mute low in Omani email. Audio mute low kan low mute tewle. Please mute all
Uh,
your audios.
it's not coming from my end, right?
Yeah, it's from our end. There are some
And
people who have forgot to mute their audio. That's why.
oh, okay. So sorry, I just for some reason I couldn't hear it properly, so I had to flag that. So I sorry, the sound is actually becoming yes, now it's better. Apologies for the interruption. So going back, I was born and brought up in Guwahati, and I had to come to Delhi to do my higher education because it was thought that in Assam or in Northeast there weren't a lot of good institutions, And that was also a sort of, and there is always a sort of a difference that is there between students that come from our part of the country and between students who hail from more centrally located cities and states of the country. So I had to overcome that because there was a constant stigma attached to coming from a city like Guwahati, which is privileged within the center, right? It's one of the most developed cities. But then Guwahati also has had a history of being, uh, bomb blasts, and people who grew up in the early 2000s or late 90s, they would recognize this. And that stigma was always attached to wherever I went. After I was when I was approaching the completion of my masters, I decided that I wanted to carry on doing research. I thought that I could do my civils, but then I thought I was not. I mean, I was somebody who really couldn't study so many hours at one end. So I thought that I would rather do some research, think about the different processes, think about the different social phenomena that has to a great extent influenced our life here in the region. And that's when I decided to apply to Oxford. At first, I thought I couldn't get through. And this is something that not just me, but students from across the region face because of the reason that we have not been trained to be assertive, we have not been trained to be ambitious. And to a great extent, it is also the socio political conditions in which the young people of the region found themselves. We had to a great extent, our experiences are very difficult, right? And very different from migrants from other parts of the country. So that sort of continued even when when I came here to Oxford. I sort of started reading. I sort of, you know, uh, you know, preparing my synopsis. But before that, how I applied abroad was I started planning my application in the second year of my masters, because in India again there are way too many really brilliant students and really competent students who have the ability to push educational boundaries, and who have the ability to sort of, or who are really enriched or enlightened. But then there are very few educational institutions in India to accommodate students, especially in the MPhil and PhD levels. So that's when I decided that, okay, let me just try and see if I can make it somewhere outside, or if I may given, or if may, I may be given a place to study somewhere outside the country. And it was probably also a little bit of colonial hangover, that we believe that only if we go outside and situate ourselves in a Western university, only then maybe we will be having options of doing well in our life. But probably because of that as well, probably because that was a part of my thinking process, i I just applied to Oxford. And so I wrote a research proposal. For anybody who wishes to do a PhD in Oxford, you have to write a proposal. Since you are in your undergraduate, or since you are pursuing your undergraduate, you may as well choose to apply for the master's courses in Oxford, which are for a year. It's known as the MSc, and there are many different interdisciplinary courses. Like you have something like global governance, security studies, even in sciences, in engineering. I think engineering courses here are a bit longer, but for students who are especially interested in humanities and social sciences, they can definitely look up the different courses that are being offered by the university. Since I applied for the PhD, and I'm hoping that young women and men who are, and individuals from beyond the gender spectrum who are listening this lecture would be interested in doing a PhD, if not now, maybe a few years down the line, then you would have to develop a very strong research proposal where you can clearly articulate what is it that you want to understand, or what questions and contributions that your thesis is going to make. Um, and you also have to probably give an English language exam, which is problematic to a great extent because you have to prove how well you read and write. I'll still have to check if that's a criteria now, but in my belief, it is still there. Um, Another thing which is important for anybody who would want to apply to study abroad is scholarships and fellowships. Whether it is for a master's course or whether it is for a PhD, you will need a fellowship or a scholarship. The most common scholarships are Commonwealth, Inlex Foundation scholarships, or you also have Felix scholarships, which are exclusively for certain universities in the UK. You also have Rhodes Scholarship, and I would definitely recommend whoever is listening to go to their websites and find out the last date of applications and the templates to write the proposal, or how to arrange your applications and things like that. And one thing that I would definitely recommend is, if you would be interested in applying, try to plan your application 6 months in advance so that you can make it to all the deadlines. Um, but one thing I would definitely say is that if any of you feel that you want to apply, then please do apply. Don't really worry about the outcome. Make that effort and send in the application. Do not at any cost restrict yourself because you think that maybe you're not good enough, or maybe these universities are like, maybe it's difficult or impossible to get into these universities. Never let those doubts cloud your mind. Just apply and see what happens. If nothing, then at least you will have a knowledge as to how the application system works. But just apply and see what happens. If someone like me can get through, then all of you are really, really talented, I'm sure. So just plan the applications. Think about the questions that you want to raise or ask, because even in your master's applications you have to write an SOP where you have to clearly define your interests, or why is it that you are choosing this course, and see what happens. um, Before going on to the next question, obviously I'm not saying that these universities are the best, and I'm sure that there are uh, like within the northeast, within Mizoram or Manipur or Assam, there are many education institutions which have produced gems, right? People who make us proud. But if you can gain an experience of somewhere out of the region where you can know more about yourself, then I would definitely say or recommend that you apply. Yes, I'm sorry for the long response, but please, ma'am, Miss Sangi, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. And then I was about to ask you regarding the scholarship, the sponsorship, the financial assistance provided. But since you have already mentioned there, I will not be asking you any more about that. But I would like to know how costly it is to study abroad. Like if we get the scholarship or sponsorship provided by the university, will able to manage with that, or we have to do some other extra work?
Okay, it is expensive, of course. It is very expensive in the UK because after Brexit, uh, like which happened in 2018, um, the cost of living here increased because a lot of funding that was provided by the European Union, when UK was part of the European Union, it was withdrawn. And then so that definitely affected scholarship and funding. But I would say that that should not prevent or deter or stop students from applying. The reason why I would say that you need to apply is because it gives you a hang of how what it is or how you can survive in a completely different country on your own, and how you can be independent, and how you can sort of try and adjust in extremely new circumstances, which for people like me from Assam was difficult because uh, it was something which was completely new. And even though I was a migrant student or Mizoram, in certain applications, one thing that I forgot to mention in the previous question was that for certain applications like Commonwealth or roads, those applications have to be made before you get the admission offer. That is, before you get confirmation from the department that you are applying to, you have to apply to these funding. So that's why, make the proper use of, or the optimum use of your internet connections, whatever connections that you have access to. Make sure you use them in the right way, and learn and kind of explore these scholarship opportunities. um, the cost of living is high, but it's also the information as to what is the cost of living in a particular year in the university is also given on their websites. I can probably share these links with Dr. Sangi and Dr. Pachau, and they can circulate it later. But I would say that there are options to make ends meet if students experience financial hardships. I did my PhD in the middle of a pandemic, so that was
Hello.
like another problem
Hmm.
because it got delayed
Oh.
and the degree got a bit longer.
Oh.
But I did receive certain help from the
Oh. Oh.
department and the universities, which I'm
Ngoro
sure
makin ka sung
can
te lu tu
be
sa to hi ete
thought
webinar kam
about
nei mo
if
online in
required.
program ka um la ko
Um,
lu tu ka.
but definitely,
Oh.
before going to the
Ole ole.
university, I would say sort out the funding, scholarship. Make sure that you have a scholarship, and then for that you need a strong application, which is completely doable. And I'm sure a lot of you can probably make a good application. Yes.
Exactly. So, Miss, is it difficult or is it hard to be qualified to be admitted in the foreign universities, especially for the Indian or precisely to the Northeast students? Because as we all know, the Northeast students, we are a little bit different from the, what to say, mainland India. So, how hard is it to be qualified or admitted to the foreign universities for students like us?
I would say that to a great extent, it's completely doable, it's completely possible. And nowadays there is a push from universities within to make the departments here more inclusive, to sort of have more and more students from indigenous and from different gender, sexuality, or caste backgrounds to come and study here. I would definitely suggest students from Mizoram or Manipur or Nagaland applying to these universities and taking up research positions and applying for longer research degrees like PhDs, because for a very long time it was the scholars from these universities who would go to Mizoram and Manipur and write about the people there, right? White scholars, white male scholars. But now is the time to sort of overturn that privilege and make sure that your voices or your narratives are heard, and that can be only possible if you are willing to take hold of your narrative. And the first step to do that is by applying, or I'm not saying that applying and getting a a position in these universities is the only way, but definitely a way to sort of think about whatever has been said about your community, or whatever has been said about the history in a different way, or to sort of bring in whatever you have learned from your foremothers or your forefathers and incorporate them into whatever questions that you're interested in asking. I think in my case, I was because I came from Guwahati and because I came from Assam, I thought that maybe to a certain extent I'm not good enough for these universities. But then I would say that to a great extent, we bring in, I mean, I would say that I brought in a completely different set of experiences, which have to a certain extent helped me overcome these feelings of being not good enough. Again, my experience is a bit different, to be honest, because I come from an upper caste position. I come from a city like Guwahati that had access to opportunities, or that had access to certain facilities, but that should not prevent students from other states like Mizoram and Manipur, because there have been scholars like Joy Pachau. Another scholar whose work I like is Dr. Zara Pachau, whom I have engaged to, and then even V. Lalrin Sangi, whose MPhil dissertation I have read so many times, and that thesis is available in the Mizoram University website. Margaret Zama. So the state of Mizoram has a tradition of producing so many, uh, think like important thinkers, and I think that, and I don't want to sound overtly inspirational or like, a like a motivational speaker, but I would definitely say that to a great extent, especially for indigenous Lai, Mara, or Lushe women from Mizoram, or men, or anybody, from the state, you should definitely apply and see what happens. Um, I think I can't comment about mathematical courses. I cannot comment about quantitative courses or qualitative courses. But if you think that, you want to just apply and see what happens, then definitely do apply, because these courses I have no idea about. I have not really dabbled in them. But in social sciences or humanities courses, definitely, if there are interesting questions that you want to engage with, please make sure that you apply. It's not difficult at all. Yes.
How rigorous is the education system abroad when compared to the Indian educational system?
I think both. I would say that it's difficult to compare the both. Both systems have, uh, like, I would say, their own unique ways of, like academic training and teaching. And also, like in the case of Indian academic training, it's very difficult, and it differs from state to state. It differs from central university to state universities, and at every level, whether it is the undergraduate, postgraduate, or whether it is in higher research degrees in India, it's very different. I think the benefit that I had while doing my PhD here is the feedback system, because there is constantly your supervisor who gives you support and who is constantly engaging with your work, making sure that you are, you are thinking about the questions and thinking about how to address them. Because during a PhD, it's very, it has happened to me that I would think about something, but I would, go on a completely different direction. Like it's kind of difficult to be very focused, basically. So that feedback process is something which I feel is good about the university systems here. But I wouldn't say that one is better than the other, because again, gaining admissions here does not in any way define your intellectual capacities. You can do well irrespective of wherever you study, that is for sure. But I would still expect and want to see some of you coming here and kind of joining me or joining other scholars from Manipur and Mizoram who are already here, because then it's like the world gets to know about your narratives or your histories. In India also there has been a lot of good work done by scholars from Mizoram and Manipur, but here I think if and I'm sure that like within their institutional arrangements they have done brilliantly, but specifically talking about the institutions here, I think you can probably benefit from the feedback system, and of course the access to resources, and the access to whatever it is that you need to help in your research. So that is something which is a big factor, because one thing I do acknowledge and understand that within by like for a lot of scholars from Mizoram, Manipur, and Assam, there is a lot of there is a dearth of like resources. Like not every single book is available, or not every single journal article is accessible, but these universities do provide you access, and that is why scholars here are so privileged, right? So that is one of the reasons why I would definitely say that the feedback system and accessibility of resources is something which is a plus point, but then it in no way sort of compares to the Indian education system, because both of them are very unique. And once again, coming studying here or studying in India or wherever it is you are placed does not determine your academic or intellectual worth. So that is what I would like to say. Yes.
Exactly. Do you think that the Northeastern students are they are competent enough to survive in the Western middle of higher education?
Yes, yes, of course. Why not? I would say definitely one of the earliest, like not just now. I think scholars from Manipur and Mizoram have been coming to US, UK in the 1960s, right? And they have, not just survived; they have also flourished, irrespective of massive. Um, Irrespective of being seen in a certain way, or irrespective of perceived in a certain way because of the way they look or because of the way they speak English, and that's also because of their commitment to achieving something and making their communities proud. So I would definitely say that it's possible. Obviously there will be obstacles, there will be times when you feel like your work is not good enough, or that you are feeling isolated, because the PhD journey in itself is a very isolating experience, because it's just you and your project, and you are far away from home, and you may feel homesick. There may be financial issues as well. But I would say that at the end of the day, you need to derive strength from yourself, which is easier said than done. It's not easy. There will be times when you feel rejection, or when you feel that, okay, I'm kind of stuck, but that is part of the process. And in no way, again I would say that in no way do those feelings determine who you are or what is your worth. So I would say that it's always helpful to kind of um, have like a supportive group of friends whom you can always talk to, whether they are from Mizoram or whether they are within your departments in your universities. But have being in close contact with your family and friends, and then also being willing to explore opportunities here is something which can be helpful. But in no way should these universities and institutions.
Problem of racism prevalent in UK, or is there any form of institutional racism that cause problem for the Indian students or for Asian as a whole? Racism.
Right. To a great extent, It's not just race, it is a lot of things that work together to determine your experiences. Like, there was a Dalit scholar from India whose name was Sumit Samos, and he wrote an article which is there, I think, which talks about how the Indian, diaspora or the Indian community of scholars have it's a like within Oxford, it's the idea that it's a safe space because it's like a university town. So maybe students here don't really face racism, but I cannot speak for anybody and everybody. Different people have different experiences, but then historically these universities in the UK have been very white universities. It's only since the 70s or 80s that they have influenced how they think about themselves and their positionality within these institutions. And yes, to a certain extent, I would say that inequalities do exist within these institutions. Yes.
Apart from mainstream education, what career opportunities are viable for the Indian or Northeastern youths in the UK, and what would you recommend, and what are the ways and means for availing such kind of opportunities?
To be honest, I can only share opportunities that are there within the academic field. Obviously, a lot of Indian young people do apply to come here and work in different sectors in different professions. Some have even started some are even self-employed and have started their own businesses. Um, uh, but I think to a great extent, I can only, to a certain extent, comment about opportunities for masters or PhD, something like that. But I do know that there are, if there are opportunities for work, but then how to apply for them and how to avail those opportunities, that is something that I am not really confident enough, and I think I shouldn't mislead anybody by providing wrong or false information. So I think I would have to go back, do some research, and come back for that. But I would say that since you all are all students, then probably apply for a master's or a PhD if it's possible, if it's made possible, and then see what employment opportunities are available, which you would probably be able to explore on your own once you have like a few years of experience of living here, which you can once you start a degree or a course. And in many cases, I think universities also help because they will provide you career counseling. They will provide you. I mean, there are different placement cells like the ones that you have.
Started your PhD in the midst of pandemic, so that itself will be a big challenge, I'm sure. So something like that, will you please share us your personal problems or the hardship you have faced while studying abroad, and most importantly, how you cope up with it? This will be my last questions from my side, and after that we'll open the time for the audience.
Okay. I do wish that these questions wouldn't end because I really had a good time answering them. And thank you for the questions. So I started my PhD in during the time of Brexit. And I think I was in my second year or so when the pandemic happened. Fortunately, I was fortunate and privileged to have the support of my family, to kind of be in an environment where I could, to sort of keep engaging with whatever it is I did, so that I can uh, at the end honor the voices of the people which are feature who kind of help my ethnography, because I have worked with people who have been extremely gracious and who have been extremely willing to engage with me. And even during the pandemic, I was in touch with a lot of the collaborators with whom I collaborated from for my ethnography. So I would talk to them, ask them how they are doing, and ultimately the idea is to write or to interpret those voices in a way that definitely reflects their ideas, their voices, their opinions. So that is what I was trying to do. But of course, during the pandemic, it's very difficult to focus. It's very difficult to write because, when your relatives or when your close friends get afflicted with the pandemic, or when they get affected by the virus, you are very worried, you are very anxious. But then hopefully, as time passes, all of us can recover and gather the strength to carry on. But definitely, it has impacted a lot of people who had to lose their loved ones. And in those situations, I really felt that I was blessed and privileged that.
Before we open the time for the audience, I would like to request Sarzara to open the chat box. I have a problem opening the chat box, so will you please read out the chat box? The questions in the chat box, please.
Okay, Shivangi, can you access the chat box? I think it's better for her to see for herself.
Okay, okay.
If you are able, can you see the questions in the chat boxes?
Yes, I think there are two questions that I can understand and I would want to engage with them. So the first question is by Mar from Hoite. So basically, what are the financial needs? To answer the first part of your question, I would say that you would need a scholarship to study. The first step or the first thing that you need to do is search for departments, search for universities, and search for the courses that you want to apply. Go to the internet, go to Google. Look, say for instance, if you are looking to pursue sociology in the UK, just as a hypothetical example, um, look up universities, say for instance in LSE, the London School of Economics. Go to their website, go to the department, look up the faculty members, look up the sources of funding. Everything nowadays is available on the website, and that should be your source of information. If you have any doubts or if you have any inquiries, then you can always write to the graduate students administrator, whose email ID will be given on the website. And if you have concerns about funding, then you can ask them, which, you can ask them, is, funding available for us? And I think in many application forms also they ask, do you need funding? Then you have to tick on the box that yes, you need funding. Um, Again, for PhD students and for students who are willing to do masters, it's always good to talk about these issues with your supervisors or your course advisors. Once you get through, once when you start the course, tell them that you are having this financial courses, and if it is possible to get financial help to finish the studies. So that is there. Um, comparing to Indian expenditures of higher education, yes, it's pretty expensive than public universities in India. It's more expensive, like more than JNU, DU, or IIT, IIM for sure. And and then this information is also available on the website. How much money you need per year, they will give you on the website. So make sure that you sit down and get all the information you need, and then note them down on your notebook, and then start preparing the applications. At least then you will have the required information to take the further steps. So yes, I hope that answers your question. But once again, I will share my email ID. So if you would want to get in touch, you can. Um, out of curiosity, yes, UK universities, most of them would provide accommodation. In many cases, it would be like graduate or undergraduate student accommodation. Like in Oxford, you have a collegiate system. Like, say, for instance, in Delhi University, you have different colleges in North Campus, South Campus, which fall under or are affiliated to DU. In Oxford, also, you have that system where you have accommodation. But apart from that, you also have graduate study accommodation where also you can apply, or where once automatically you get through, you can be allotted those accommodations. Um, it depends on which course or which department you apply to, but in many cases, information on accommodation again is available on website. And if you ask people who will be administering or who will be helping you with your application, um, they can also give you information. So but then I would say that if you are someone who is interested in coming to Oxford, for instance, and if you are a first year student, then there is a high chance that you will get accommodation. Maybe in your second or third year you won't get it, but then there will be people who will help you to find something. So yes, that should work out. um, so there is a question by Joel Van Peka. Um, mission. Yes, that is a very important question, Mr. Sorry, Van Peka. To be honest, I also thought that I would have that problem, but I think um, to a great extent here I don't find a problem of understanding the lectures, because I think academics and lecturers also nowadays make sure that they are speaking at a comfortable space or at a comfortable speed, so that every single student can understand them. um, I think for students from Mizoram or from any other state from the Northeast, I think we have an advantage because I think we do have access to educational systems where we can make out what academics are saying. But I would strongly suggest that if you have any problem understanding lecturers, make sure you tell them that. Make sure that you address that with the person who is teaching you a certain course, because if they are unable to teach you separately, then maybe they will give you like the readings, or maybe they will ask a teaching assistant, who are mostly PhD students like us, to sit with you and tell you what the course is about, or what is it that they are talking about. Or maybe, who knows, maybe they will take some time off and help you with your studies. But once again, these are only probably courses that are in the social sciences that I can give you, and that I can give you vaguely some idea about, that this is how lectures happen. But in most cases, I think academics here take extra care and attention to make sure that every single student understands what it is that they are saying. So I don't think you have to worry about that much. And I think even once you enroll on the course here, you will yourself be able to manage and handle all the academic work. So I wouldn't really worry about it. And that should not obviously scare you from applying, for sure. What is the okay after my PhD? To be honest, I'm still thinking what to do. What should be my next line of work? Probably doing more research, doing more ethnographic work, and seeing where it takes me. But I do want to keep engaging with young people like you all, and because I am also an ethnographer, so I want to like understand, how it is that you are navigating everyday life. And of course, it's the thing about being a researcher and collaborator. There are different degrees of privilege, inequalities involved. But then hopefully at least we can get into like a conversation with each other. And apart from that, let's see, maybe research or maybe teaching, like whatever I am able to, um, you know, wherever I'm able to apply. Um, let's see. But then again, from a career perspective point of view, it will again depend on what is it your course, what is it that you are trying to understand, or which university you are, depending on all of those factors, or your own specific preferences as to what you want to do. Keeping in mind all of those factors will depend on what is it that you want to do. So yeah, I would say as of now I'm a bit unclear as to where I want to be in the next, say, couple of years. But hopefully when things are proceeding, or when things move at a faster pace, I will be able to make up my mind as to where it is that I want to apply. Yes. Thank you so much, Marfam Hate, for your questions, and Valnal Peka for your question as well. Thank you so much.
Mm. Thank you, Ms. Shivanji, for addressing our questions and clarifying our doubts. Now, I would like to request the audience and anyone from the teachers or from the students to unmute yourselves and ask any kind of questions regarding the talk.
Okay, let me start first. Let me take the initiative from the faculty part. I think it's quite enlightening what our resource person has talked about in our webinar tonight, and I hope that our students will have quite picked up some important points from what you have discussed tonight. And let's hope that in the near and far future, many of our students will enroll and follow in your footsteps at Oxford University. Anyway, I would like to raise two small questions for our resource person. I have attentively listened to your discussions and your deliberations in the various questions that our host has asked you. And what I would like to know, and what I thought our students would also like to know, is that how tough is the education system down there in Oxford? How demanding is the education system? Is the system pressurizing you too much to study, to work hard, or those kinds of things? So how hard, how difficult is to study in Oxford? That is my first question. And the second part of my question is, um, what would you describe as the most difficult experience that you have so far while you were down there at Oxford? So those are my two questions.
Um, okay, that is like there's a very interesting questions, and I'll try my best to address them. The first question, is the academic system here rigorous? Again, to be honest, when it comes to masters and other MPhil programs, it's difficult to comment on them because I haven't really set on them. Like, I haven't attended those courses or those classes, but I know for a fact that masters as well as MPhil students also have to write their own thesis, which they have to submit by the end of the year, which can be a bit difficult to handle, especially with exams and things like that. But I think it's still a good exercise to write a thesis when you're doing a master's and your MPhil programs, because you know it can give you an experience of how to write academically, and you can have like a certain book plan, or I mean you can publish your master's or your MPhil thesis later on when you have shaped it more academically or with or more coherently. um, And also it depends on who is teaching, because academics here teach in very different ways. And I have heard that, like every single week or every single lecture is given by a different person, so that gives you an opportunity to know more people or to know the work of more people. um, and also I think in a way it sort of is rigorous in the fact that you have very strict deadlines. Students here have to work amidst a to a certain extent that this is so difficult, but you have to finish what you started, right? So at that point there is like you need, of course, when you are facing issues with your courses or having anxiety over a lot of work, then you definitely should talk to people. You should definitely, reach out to people who can support you. But at the end, yes, in comparison to the Indian higher educational system, where you can stay close to with your family and where you can get support, family or friend support, those structures may be unavailable to you when you come here. But then there are certain uh, you know people around who can support and help you if you need to. And more than, I feel that nowadays, more than the actual content of whatever it is that you are being taught in universities, students face a lot of burnout or a lot of anxiety as to how they can finish everything on time and how they can operate under deadlines. So in those cases, it's always important to reach out to somebody who can help you, who can give you support, and to share that with your friends. And but it's at the end, it's that those factors should not once again stop you from coming here and applying, because those experiences also make you stronger. They will help you to face difficulties in your future. And they will also help you to sort of understand what academic life is, which I hope that some of you will take the decision to join, because we really do need more and more students from Mizoram, Manipur, Arunachal. Otherwise, again, the narrative will always be lopsided. So rigorous academic structures can make you feel a bit anxious, or it can make you feel worried, a little bit worried that am I good enough or not. But definitely you are somebody who deserve to be in these institutions, who should be coming here and experience whatever it is that they have to offer, while at the same time also trying to do things that try to change the narrative, or try to how do I say this, that make sure that when you come here you are contributing, you are writing, reading, voicing your opinion, so that you you take control of structures that have always tried to marginalize you, or that have always tried to sideline people like us. That's all I would say. Yeah.
So, what would you describe as your most difficult experience during your stay there?
Oh, yes. For me, every day is a challenge. To be honest, I don't have one specific experience that I would say is difficult. I would say that as a PhD student, I have had to learn from scratch how to write academically, how to, think analytically, which I'm still struggling with, because for us, we have to refer to secondary sources, we have to refer to archival sources, and then we have to also understand how that is helping us to think about what our thesis is. So, those questions, those struggles I have on a regular basis. But I try to sort of take one day at a time, and then try and think about all of the things that I have seen and experienced, and um, and once you probably grow a bit older, you become stronger, you become, um, you know, you kind of understand the world around you in a better way. Now, I guess you guys are like pretty young and you're still trying to make sense of the world around you. So it will probably take some time, but then probably but then it's I tell myself it's completely natural to have difficult days. So I guess for me, every single day is a challenge, and the idea is to take one day as it comes. Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? You can unmute yourselves. You can unmute yourselves.
I will also, share my email ID. So in case students don't want to, interact now, they can probably send me an email, and we can definitely talk about, um, your application or whatever it is that you want to do career wise. Yeah.
That's very kind of you, Miss. I think everyone is clear with the doubts and all. Thank you
Miss
so
Roxa,
much once again.
can I have one more question?
Yeah, sure,
Um,
please.
I was waiting for my colleagues to respond, but since no one is coming out, I'll take the opportunity again. Uh, my last question for our resource person is, based on your experience that you have described in this discussion so far, was there any time? I think you were about to finish your DPhil sometime next year, right? Okay. So during your course there, I think you have been there since 2018. So about 6 7 years you have been there at Oxford. So during all those years, was there a time when you feel like quitting altogether? Like you are feeling to you feel the urge to come home to India, to your parents, to your hometown, to your home city, like that. And during those times, if you had such kind of like emotional or mental breakdown or something like that, what was your driving force? What motivates you to go one step further, to take one step at a time, not quitting altogether? What was your driving force behind all those difficulties during your time there?
Thank you so much for asking me that. I think it's not just me, but a lot of students think of quitting their PhDs, well, when they have like 3 4 years after they have started, they always feel like, they want to quit because it's just too much pressure on their finances. It's a pretty long degree, and within these 4 5 years anything can happen, so yeah, I have also had these ideas. But I think one of the things that have really helped me is reading books that are not related to your course or that are not related to your thesis. Just take like a day off and read books. Like one, like Margaret Zama's has a book of folk tales, and then Molsamni Jacob has a book on Zorami and things like that that I have read, and a lot of other storybooks like black female authors, even books by Avino Kire from Nagaland, or Estherin Kire, or Sangmai from Manipur, who have written books and folk tales from their own communities. I really like reading them. I really like engaging with them because there is always this strong female at the center of those stories who have overcome a lot of obstacles. Like say, like to share with you, there is this one story by Temsula Ao where she talks about this woman whom she calls, Khatila, who successfully evades the Indian army and then saves her husband and then also takes care of everything. Like, and for these women, there is just no moment of rest. You know, they can't even take a day off. They can't even, you know, stop. They have to keep thinking, working. So, you know, like I really liked engaging their work. And recently I was reading this book called Written Out. And I don't know if I can show you, but this is the book that I'm. Wait, I'll just probably because of my um, background, you are not able to see it. But if you can see it now, it's called Written Out. So this is the story of a, you know, of an anthropologist called Regina Tuala from South Africa, who did major work, you know, who did a lot of reading and writing, but she was not able to gain recognition because she had to operate in a very you know, white hegemonic South Africa. I mean, this was happening in the 1940s and 1930s, when the socio-political context in South Africa was very different. And she was pushed into darkness. You know, all her work was kind of it never really saw the light of the day. It never really got published. But still, you know, her work had so much influence that probably decades after her death, somebody discovered her letters, her work, and they even wrote a book about her. And even when I was doing archival work, I also figured out the relationship between Assam and Mizoram. And, you know, in the 40s and 50s, before the MNF movement, Mizoram was still a part of uh, Assam, and it was known as Lushai Hills. And the relationship that emerged between the different government officials in undivided Assam and movement leaders from Mizoram like Lal Denga, those relationships and something are somewhat, and understanding them is something of has become like an important part of my life now. So even if I feel like really low or feel like quitting, I tell myself that at least let me understand them first, and then, you know, maybe that will keep driving me forward. So speaking from my own personal experience, I would say that it's easy to give up. It's easy to sort of say that I can't do this anymore, but then it's also difficult to keep working. Um, but in situations where it is impossible for you to work, I would definitely say that you should talk to other people and share your, you know, issues with your close ones or people whom you trust, and figure out what is it that is driving you, why you started in the first place, and maybe then you can keep carrying on. Yes, I will stop at that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Quite an inspiring story there.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening to me, everyone. Whoever is there, thank you so much.
Okay, I think no more questions from the audience side. With that, we have come to the end of tonight's program. I would like to call Mrs. Vanal Liani, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Hello, Ms. Shivangi.
Hello, Miss Vanli Ali. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So even though we would like the program to go on till the wee hours, but like they said, there is an end to everything, good things as well.
Miss, can you
So we
please
have to,
lower your screen? Yes,
okay.
yes, yes. Okay.
So we have come to the end of our program. So on behalf of the Career Guidance and Coaching Cell Government Leadership College, I would like to propose a vote of thanks to those who have contributed to the success of tonight's webinar, Prospects of Higher Education and Career Opportunities, abroad organized by the Career Guidance Cell. So thank you, our dear resource person, Ms. Shivangi Kaushik. We are enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule to grace this event. Thank you for your insights into a very important topic that will benefit all of us here. So it was a pleasure to listen to your wise words and learn so much from it. I believe everyone was captivated by your talk. We look towards for more future collaborations with you, and we wish you all the best for your future endeavors. And special thanks to the organizing committee for their support and coordination. Especially, I have to mention Dr. Zara Patswal for initiating tonight's webinar. And we feel very fortunate to have such a vibrant and dynamic educator amongst us, and Ms. Sang Sang as well for hosting tonight's program. And our heartfelt thanks also go to our students for their active participation. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's program. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Pui. So with that, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Thank you. Good night,
Miss Sang
everyone.
Sang, please, roll number, attendance.
Hold on
Eh,
1 second. Yes.
We can go on deliberating this.
To, get to know what students, what their interests are, and
Okay, so by the way, have you contacted Professor J.B. Luna and Pastor Valtea, that contact I gave you?
yes, I'm planning to contact them today by the end of this day. Yes, I was actually preparing for this webinar, so I didn't have the time,
Oh,
but
yeah, I see.
yes, but there is a raised hand. Someone has raised a hand. Maybe it's because of attendance. Um,
I don't know how the reason for raising their hand. Might be just of curiosity, or I don't know.
but if they want to address or ask me something, then they can if you
Yes,
want. If you,
definitely. I think they can see your email ID that you have provided in the chat box, right?
yes, yes. Should we still take it up? If it's and even Lalram Naga.
Okay. Yeah, it's questions are open. It's still open if they want to ask you.
Yeah, please go ahead. Whoever has raised their hands.
It looks like even some are still joining after the end of the program also.
Yeah, I see. No problem. Then probably I can leave.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you so much, Dr. Pachau and Dr. Sangi for the kind invitation and the platform. I'm really honored and privileged. And I hope that, some of you will write to me and let me know what your plans are. And I look forward to engaging with some of you, and all the best.
Thank you so
Okay,
much. The
no
pleasure's
problem.
all ours. Okay. Thank you so much
Yes,
for your time.
have a nice evening. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Same to you. Good night.
bye.
Bye.